Checking that Prisrec. Target neutralized. Looting his pockets. His pockets are empty. One of the Prisrec's tasers. My pockets are full.
The Overseer runs this library like a wild animal preserve. Look, but don't touch.
I'll hold on to this.
Check in. Nothing to report. Huh? I'm pursuing the subject.
Equipping P0. Going in for the...
My eyes!
I'll check his pockets. Nothing. Going in for the steal.
Clear.
He's just up these stairs. Librarian! Librarian! Senor Octavo? Librarian! Oh no! This isn't real. You're making it up. Stop it. Stop it. Shh. It's okay.
What happened? Who's that? Senor Octavo.
I shouldn't watch this.
The girl activated a video that appears to have been recorded only moments ago. I presume it relates to the dead librarian. It's important that we determine what happened. However, she's not accustomed to witnessing violence. It's difficult to anticipate how it will affect her.
Senor Octavo. Just the man I want to see.
Hello, Derringer. To what do I owe this pleasure?
Good book.
It is a classic.
Not just a classic. I mean, it's actually good.
How can I help you?
Why does this guy, Edmond Dantes?
Dante.
Dante, right. Why does this guy tell Maximilian that his girl is dead?
For revenge.
No, Maximilian's his friend.
Yes, you are. You're right, of course.
Damn it, man. You have read this, haven't you?
Of course, yes. I meant it has been a while.
Why does Dantes put his friend through so much misery?
I think the point is to teach a lesson. You cannot know happiness unless you have been exposed to tragedy.
Can't know hope without despair.
I believe that is it, yes.
Kind of like the pre-cows. They don't know up from down, good from bad. They got no perspective because they don't have a clue about the outside. Or do they?
This is an intriguing intellectual exercise, Derringer, but it is late and
Why'd you give the kids the Poison Manifesto?
I did not.
What do you do in that hidden room downstairs?
What room?
Think we can't hear that god-awful music bleeding through the walls?
I just read and...
Reading Sega's trash!
I have seen it, yes, but I would never act on it.
A spy against us.
No.
You were planning to help the children escape.
No, Derringer,
Where the hell do you think you're going?
I can't watch this anymore.
Senor Octavo?
Un momento. Buenos días.
You Senor Octavo?
Sí, I am Luis Octavo, yes.
My name's Quinn Derringer. My employer contacted you.
Yes, of course. The mystery man who pays me twice what I ask. Did he receive the books yet?
He did. And he thanks you. He'd like to thank you personally.
Of course. Tell him to come in at any time.
He's not in Buenos Aires. Is your passport in order?
My passport? What is this about?
My employer has some more work for you.
Mystery man? What sort of work?
That's the mystery.
Well, where would I go? Oh, impossible. I cannot close my shop.
My employer thinks you can. He'll pay whatever you ask.
He doesn't even know my price.
But he knows you have one. You got a number in your head, senor?
I do?
Good. Double it. Where's your passport at?
Oh, no. Wait a minute. How long will I be gone?
Just a few days. I promise.
Dear Senor Octavo, thank you so very much for giving me a copy of Labyrinths by Borgia. Each of the stories was fascinating. I especially enjoyed the one called The Library of Babel. It made me think of you, surrounded by all those books, overwhelmed with the infinite number of ideas they contain, and left wondering which books contain the truth and which are false. Is it true you knew Borgia and discussed literature with him? If so, I am positively envious. Thank you again for the stimulating read. Your friend, 390H. What's yours is mine.
I don't know if I agree with your decision to show the girl that horrifying video. Still, maybe it's best she knows the whole truth.
I'll be taking this.
What have you got?
Trouble, Weep.
No, we're not. He would never turn us over to Mireille.
He might if he caught us smoking his cigarettes.
Don't drag on it so long.
How do you know about this stuff?
I read a book.
One of Senor Octavo's books?
No, it was the manifesto. He has a whole chapter dedicated to smoking.
You're making fun of me.
What the hell's up with that bird?
I found a cassette.
Check in.
too much ground to cover.
NPR.
Found some pepper spray.
What was that?
Good idea. My battery was getting low. That's more than I can carry.
Welcome to my domain. See anything you like. Come back anytime.
Be careful. The Prizrak in this part of the facility are unpredictable in their rounds. You never know where they might turn up.
don't have room for anything else. I think the cube's empty.
Situation is clear.
That's more than I can carry.
Reporting.
There's a guard. I hear music. It's coming from behind this bookcase.
This is no mere piece of paper. It is an escape plan. A blueprint for a key. A master key. Capable of unlocking any number of doors inside this facility. But that is not all. In the garden, there is a gate to the outside world. A gate to freedom. This key, I am told, will unlock that gate.
I'll hold on to this.
But Senior Octavo...
Shh. Un momento. Go ahead, 933W.
You can't stay here.
I'm too old to be tilting at windmills.
But you don't know what the headmaster is capable of.
Sadly, I know all too well. History abounds with men like the Overseer.
He will kill you. Recalibrate you.
Were I 30 years younger, things would be different. I would hew to the line that Zager has drawn. But today, I am merely an old academic with failing eyesight. I doubt I can even see the line.
I'll come back for you. For all of you.
Why, 933W, I find your compassion extraordinary.
Call me Weep. I'm not a number anymore.
A blueprint of the Overseer's master key. The librarian suggested this key is required to escape from the facility. I know of a 3D printer located in archives. With this blueprint, the girl can manufacture a key.
Pasternak, in the Soviet Union, wrote a book critical of the October Revolution. Can you think of anything more stupid? Beyond that, Zhivago and Laura cuckold a servant of the state, and Pasternak has the gall to ennoble their sin as a mystic union. The worst form of physical love, betrayal, is favored over the physical sacrifice of a soldier for his country. I despise freewheeling artists, librarian. Japan had the sense to try and then fine a translator for dragging this garbage into Japanese. Out there beyond our walls, Lady Chatterley's lover has a reputation as sidekick to hormones in adolescent awakenings. Puberty is a delicate time. We need to cultivate it as a plant in a garden. We cannot teach them control with this floating around. I assure you, we know better than Lawrence. Put this in the box with leaves of grass. He and Whitman deserve each other. He would teach our innocents to dance and carouse. Seduction and the majesty of a man's body befit such a vagrant as Zorba. But they don't belong here, where we give people their best home. This is a blueprint for destroying one's life. Are we not here to give people happiness? They cannot be taught suicide. There are few things, librarian, as disappointing as failed leadership, especially when that leadership fails by giving in to mental illness or desire. Hawthorne came from a line of leaders, but you wouldn't know that by reading his account of Dimsdale. The Scarlet Letter would teach our citizens that its leadership can succumb to the weaknesses that we work daily to cure. Such doubt is unacceptable. Where would we be without faith in government? One of the great terrors of literature is its ability to touch a reader's unspoken experience. But you understand, librarian, a republique requires peace between its citizens. Animal Farm gives voice to bigoted trends we must erase. Its laws separate citizens into different body types. Those with 2 legs and 4 legs and wings. It's a short jump from this fiction to realizing that you've never liked the color of your neighbor's skin. This one belongs in a cage. The body is strange, librarian. Oxytocin and endorphins lead so many to mistake robotic chemical responses for emotional attachments. Worse, though, is what Burroughs promotes. He suggests deviant behavior as a mechanical way around the trappings of societal control. We cannot let people think their bodies are ways around the state. They must exercise the Republique with their bodies in everything they do. Everything. Throw naked lunch in the pile. Voltaire suffers from the core flaw of satire. He manifests the very villainy he intends to lampoon. Do we want the women in our Republique to believe themselves currency in Voltaire's economy of sexual exchange? Intended or no, this preserves ancient viciousness against women and would justifiably lead half our citizens into unproductive rage. Customs agents across Europe once refused Candide passage. We must persevere where they have relaxed. Salinger, amateur sculptor of teenage angst. In Catcher in the Rye, he forces us to watch Holden flit from school to school. Oh, poor Eo, tormented by Hera's gadfly. When Caulfield realizes that he, not the institutions, beleaguer him the most, he is truly at risk. Our beloved pre-cows must never know their gadflies and ever rely on their Republique to satisfy. We don't need another Mark David Chapman. Nabokov, a pornographer whose sins surpass even pornography. Humbert, the moral straggler, does not enlighten. His aesthetic tantrums for nymphets merely confuse. Lolita proffers that the sex drive is bound to perception of beauty, all bound in craven lust for a child. If such a wretch is allowed speech, all manner of perversions will romp through our facility, and with that the twin demons of subjectivity and dissent. Lock it up. If ever there was a flawed prophet, it was Huxley. His world state gave its citizens freedom to cavort in pleasure as a distraction from political activity. But look at the 20th century's sexual revolution.
Sexual curiosity leads to self-ownership, which invariably results in dissent. Parents of the Midwestern United States are right to force this from high schools. Even if the wings of a bird are faulty, their trajectory may still be true. Ah, yes, Ayn Rand, the bulldozer. She dramatized the struggle for individualism against leeches. In reality, she abandoned such notions the minute they interfered with her own desires. They were socialist figments, in any case, librarian, not the true power structures that shape our lives. I'm afraid the fountainhead cannot flow, stopped up with so much hypocrisy. Ah, Ellison, who lets his nameless protagonist vacillate between conforming as an amnesiac of racial disadvantage and recalling all the doors locked by white hands. Belonging versus integrity. This book keeps open and raw such dichotomies, like festering wounds, while preserving an outdated model of social conflict. Invisible man should remain invisible. Illustrating in pointless detail one's sexual perversion does not make for good writing. Miller's Tropic of Cancer is about as sexy as cancer itself. Our beloved precals must never suffer the caustic eruptions of desire this book desires to make possible. Like Innocence Lost, circulated contraband cannot be totally retrieved, but it may be tended. When we remove the object of desire, we erase the possibility for dissent. Kafka's Metamorphosis. Best to keep using the German title, Die Verwandlung. We cannot risk cross-contaminating the name of our grand experiment with this simplistic trash. This book portrays the act of transforming one's essence as a vile and isolating experience. Such misinterpretation would burden our children with doubt toward our own ends. Squash this vile bug, librarian. Sputnik, Sweetheart, and its protagonist, Kay. A dutiful man who accepts his place in the pecking order. Nothing distasteful thus far, yet Murakami insists on criticizing the social mold that makes a man valuable at all. Effective coercion works within, but knowing so much is not in our citizens' best interests. Box this up, librarian. Paine is best read as a comedian librarian. For Paine, constitutions come from rights, charters create chaos, and monarchs require oversight against corruption from all whose interests fall short of the state's well-being. We are beyond constitutions, charters, even monarchs. We are communication itself. These so-called rights of man must not radicalize anyone into thinking otherwise.
This is one of the best games I own. Well, used to own. The graphics are beautiful, and the music is wonderful. And the writing is pretty funny. I like Logfella. He doesn't talk much. Like me. They call Super Hexagon a Twitch game. I doubt even Doc Holliday had quick enough reflexes for this one. I've never gotten farther than 3.5 seconds. It's intense. I don't know if that's because it gives me vertigo, or because of the ominous lady shouting game over every time I die. As a certified Kickstarter addict, my humble key recenter is filled with enough side-scrolling chiptune games to fill a lifetime's worth of the Reagan era. Shovel Knight is one of the good ones though, an 8-bit homage that marries old-school platforming with cutting-edge game design. I cry a little tear whenever I lose my hard-earned gold after a clumsy mistake, and I love it. If 2014 had a baby with 1989, she'd look a whole lot like Shovel Knight. A modern game with all the trappings of a great 90s arcade cabinet, mutants, post-apocalyptic environments, killer co-op. I like to imagine nuclear throne machines lining every laundromat and corner store. Disaffected youths pushing grannies out of the way, placing quarters to claim their spot in line. The developers at Lambier are the true wasteland kings. This is an excellent dungeon crawler RPG. I can relate to the hero who was dropped deep underground and left to fight his way out. It was another successful Kickstarter game. What warmed my heart the most was the inspired pop synth music. I would pronounce the team behind this freaky little game, but text-to-speech has a hard time with the word Simogo. These guys did some light-hearted games before making Year Walk. When I played this game, it really frightened me. How do you go from such happiness like Bumpy Road to a psychological head trip like this one is beyond me. I hope these guys didn't fry their brains. Tower defense games are a dime a dozen these days, but Kingdom Rush is the real deal. I wish I could tell you why, but I'm not a game designer. Well, I made a game one time, a game about a handsome, quiet guard who escapes from his horrible job. I call it Rogue Cooper. Alexander Bruce describes his game as a mind-bending psychological exploration game, which sounds a lot more fun than the definitive test of whether you are smart or not. But that's why I like Antichamber. It treats you like a functional human being, which also means you feel like an abject failure whenever you get stumped, like that one time I couldn't figure out how to exit the game. When I play Kentucky Route Zero, I'm transported to my childhood. I can smell the coffee-stained computer in my father's home office. Conway's surrealistic point-and-click adventure is something best experienced on a quiet Sunday morning. As the sunlight pours into the room, I wonder when the developers at Cardboard Computer will release the next episode. I don't mind waiting though. Every new episode is a gift. The fall is so immersive. I find myself thinking like the protagonist while I play. Let's say I was a sentient Asimov AI, embedded in the suit of a space pilot critically injured in a crash landing. Would I reject my directives and fight for my life? Frankly, it's a dilemma best explored within the confines of the game. The eerie parallels to our current predicament are not lost on me. The team at Supergiant quit their cushy corporate jobs, moved in together, and cranked out this seminal indie action game. Bastion is not only worth playing because of its strong narrative and action RPG elements, but because it was an early victory in the independent game revolution. Bravo, kid. Good luck surviving in this meditative space strategy game, which takes basic RTS building mechanics and wraps it together with a pleasing minimalistic visual design. Oh, and good luck pronouncing its title. If I had access to Wikipedia, I could have saved myself from asking a fellow Prizrak and Swedish native what REM capsule means. He said it means space capsule. He then reported me immediately to Derringer. British humor was hard for me to follow, but thanks to our multicultural workforce here in Metamorphosis, I'm finally able to wrap my head around the minimalist charm of Thomas Was Alone. With themes as universal as friendship and freedom, this spectacular puzzle platformer has broad appeal. Danny Wallace's narration really brings the characters to life, and is a source of inspiration for my future career in voice acting. This game starts by saying you've won the labor lottery. Trust me, this is not something you want to win. In Papers, Please, you work the mundane job of Arstotzka Immigration Services, which means cross-referencing fingerprints, stamping passports, and asking people intrusive questions. Sound boring? Tell that to sole developer Lucas Pope, who's sitting on a mountain of Game of the Year awards for Papers, Please. I am not worthy. The Stanley Parable is about a man with an extremely boring job who just sits at his computer all day doing the same thing over and over. One day, he looks up from his desk and realizes that he's all alone. This is where the story begins, when the man decides to spice up his life by not doing what he's told. Sounds like a hero to me. I flock to Metroidvania games like a bee to honey. I just didn't expect to play one soaked in Mexican folklore. In Guacamelee, you play as a luchador who must fight through death to rescue El Presidente's daughter. While the premise is silly, it's clear that the developers at Drinkbox took their jobs seriously. Deep combat, epic boss battles, couch co-op. Guacamelee is the whole enchilada. Just don't forget to get the Super Turbo Championship Edition. As you can imagine, my job here in Metamorphosis can be pretty stressful. Whenever I need to zone out, I engage my brain with Kami, which is a clever and charming puzzle game. Kami is Japanese for paper. Kami is also Japanese for God. Why do I feel closer to God when I play time-wasting puzzle games? I sure do lead a dynamite life. Mir Mooney P takes me back in a big way. Back before the internet and FAQs, when we used to get stuck, we invested time into the game's systems enough to make the incomprehensible become familiar. Eventually, it all made sense. The payoff was worth it. Mir Mooney P wraps that nostalgic sentiment in a gorgeous package, if you can embrace the challenge. A retro styling of the horror genre. You wake up in a strange house with no memory of how you got there. More troubling, you quickly discover a dead body nearby, and clues in the room seem to implicate you. The end is rather controversial, but I thought it was excellent. A word of warning. Home is scary, so keep a change of pants nearby. If you find a cassette player, perhaps you could hear what is on it. I remember seeing an old boombox when we ransacked one of Zager's hideout.
Reporting.